Well, hello, everybody. It's your boy, Sam again, a.k.a. the Train Mother Main. My yards and glards and blards and... Ow! If you don't like my intro, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm glad that you are here. So I think I start every video by saying that either I broke my promise or that I'm going to start keeping my promise of like consistent updates. I think I looked at the last upload date yesterday and it was like April or February 15th. Today's March 25th. So once again, the once a month video, the once every couple weeks video, none of my promises ever hold true, but I will say and have said that every time it's worthy of an update, I will make an update, and that's why we're here today. So I think last time that I checked in with you or you checked in with me, like I said, it's about 6 weeks ago, you saw kind of like the overall highlights of what the new expansion was going to be. And as of this morning, you could see things have come quite far along. The new yard, basically the center point, the focal point, the basis of operations for the entire layout. All the track is laid except for a few missing pieces. I'm waiting for some track to come in. Most of it's painted, ballasted, it's all wired. So very functional. As you can see, I have a nice little consist running on the main. And yes, the main does run through the center of the yard, which I did by design. So yeah, as you can see, the yard main line runs right through the center, which was by design. We have a nice interchange track over here for inbound or outbound loads. We have a nice dead end track here for storage and or just to drop some cars. Plenty of storage tracks for building trains. They're all runarounds, passing, whatever you want to call them. Obviously, a yard is a yard, and they'll use a track for whatever is necessary at the time. But the focal point of the big changes that I'm, clickbaiting in the title, even though they're real, is the new and improved diesel shops / locomotive facility / repair and place / now a fueling station as well. So if you do recall, and I'll get over here in a second, I had that maintenance of way siding originally that turned into the diesel shops that used to be over here. Once I decided to expand, I expanded because I wanted a big yard center of operations. It made absolutely no sense for me to be bringing locomotives from all the way over here to all the way over here to build trains. So it took me some hair pulling to decide and finally rip all of that up. But I finished the yard and then decided to add the diesel shops and then the fueling station and all that. Just kind of fill out the rest of the yard. Makes the most sense. As soon as I built this yard, it was like, as I'm putting down the track, I'm like, I need all that over here, but I didn't want to remove like a 60 to 70% finished scene. It just needed some touch-ups and more detail, but it was kind of like almost done. But it, makes a lot more sense over here in the real world as well. And so I just went ahead and bit the bullet and did it. So, again, the yard is completely wired. Everything is operational to the fullest. Most of the track is painted and ballasted. But obviously, like I said, once I decided to finally bite the bullet, all this track is brand new. And I'm still waiting on just a few more feet of track to finish my actual locomotive facility, diesel shop, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to make these two tracks come through all the way to about where this one ends. And then the third track that comes in here, there is the door on the end, so it's not going to go all the way through. But as you can see, with the yard being here, and then I got the nice storage track or shunting track if you're trying to move locomotives in and out. Right there off to the side, and the locomotives, I can fit 3 right there on that. It does look super cool on the side of the building. Obviously, you know how I detail and scenic, and once I get that all going, it's going to really fill out the scene. And these leads for the locomotive facility are super long, So you can see I got 4 locomotives there. Plenty of more space on top of what will be inside and potentially behind. And then I also added this wrong way, call it, because it's coming off in the opposite direction of the leads, meaning I had to wire this as its own block, which is fine because obviously the power's all coming in, blah, 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 and so now it's going this way. Works all fine. If you're into DCC, you understand. If not, no big deal. 2 nice long tracks. I got this little fuel depot kind of thing. It's not like a full service, big fueling facility, but definitely cool enough, you know, adds to the scene and whatnot. And I can fit a ton of locomotives down here. So in theory now, my goal was to, like I said, have the yard as a basis of operations so I can have more rolling stock on the layout. And then I built that engine facility over here so I could have most of my fleet on the layout. And once I built the expansion, it only made sense to have it all in one spot. Again, why would I want to bring a locomotive all the way from over there to build a train over here when I can just have everything in one spot, just like in real life? So I did bring this interchange track out as far as possible. And I have one leftover Pico switch that I found, and I'm kind of like anal and pissed because I realized I could have just thrown this in when I was still building stuff and adding track, but probably going to cut this in and add one more, maybe run that around too. I'm not quite sure. But so my project for the weekend after I film this update will be sculptamolding the rest of this little height of land in, and it'll be super lush and green and trees, kind of separating the scene where this runs back around to into the backdrop. And then because I hastily made a crappy cut and glued this down, I'm going to also sculpt a mold and fill all this in, similar to what I did over here, and you can't even tell it's really there once I finish the ground cover and touching this up. Same thing over here. So the sculpt a mold to fill in those cracks works. If you recall, this was like the first scenery I did on the whole layout itself, including the old engine facility. So this is all permanent, but it's going to be decked out even further once I get to that point. So yeah, so as you can see, yeah, big yard, can have multiple trains in there, storage, all that, all the engines in one spot. I'm super excited about that. We'll just continue moving on down. The lumber facility, I haven't really done much with lately. This expansion has been like my sole focus of the past, 4 or 5 weeks. But I also considered having the sawmill, lumber mill, whatever it is, in proximity to this yard is actually a great idea too, because in real life, a lot of industries will build obviously on rail lines or close to active rail lines so they can get service, as well as transload or big industries building essentially at the rail yard or next to the rail yard so that any inbound train can drop them off empties or loads, or vice versa. They can dispatch a locomotive to come pull loads from here and drop empties back off, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you see it all the time in real life. Not necessarily a lumber mill at every yard, but there's, any major rail yard's going to have at least something served within the locale, let's say. So, really kind of ties all this together. Moving over to here, nothing really special, just touched up some scenic stuff. Mrs. Train Main has been working on her farm kits. Like I said, this kind of is her little plot of land. Gonna probably end up making this one big lake. Not sure yet. As I've said before, this is the anomaly from like here to here. Has not been touched at all until I decide what I'm actually going to do with it. And either it'll be a big lake scene or trestles and rivers. I don't know. Ignore it. But she bought this 3D printed barn kit, painted it up. She's going to weather it. She's got a few other things. I got some fencing, and it's going to be definitely a nice scene for her. And I'm glad she wanted to get involved. Moving right along. So, if you recall, in the original videos, and as time passed on, this was the main line, still is. And this passing siding that is defunct, I called it a maintenance of way siding. And if you recall, again, I always had it kind of stub end, like there used to be a switch here, and they pulled it up. So this is what it originally looked like, the main, and then I added this just for more storage at the time. And then I built that old locomotive facility right over here. It was 3, 4, 5 tracks. Came all the way through, a nice little scene. The engine shed was here. I mean, if you want to go watch the last videos, you'll see exactly what it looked like. But again, why would I want to have all my power over here and then dispatch it all the way to over there to the main yard to build trains? It just makes no sense. So the dilemma was tearing up a scene that was not complete, but really close to kind of complete, or at least like all the basics were covered. Ripping all that up and then having to redo it in some capacity over here. So that's the easy part. And then I also have to decide what I'm going to end up doing with this scene. So I decided just make it super rural. I don't have any like canyon style running on the layout at all. You know, it's like one-sided wall here and then same thing over there and then, you know, a little bit over there, then along the backdrop. But this will actually allow the trains to run through a nice canyon type valley wall style. This is 2 sections of 2-inch foam. So this is about 4 inches tall at its highest. This is just a 2-inch section. So it definitely tapers down, you know, like some rock cuts. So that's what I'm going to do. Leave the old passing siding in place just for storage. Make it look even more dilapidated. It does have power to it, so I can park a train on there if I want, or, you know, use it for actual practical things besides just putting some cars on there. And I'm going to, like I said, my project this afternoon is to sculpt and mold the rest of all this in, make it flush with everything. Same thing with over there. And then, you know, hopefully tomorrow or sometime in the next week, I can at least get all this painted. That's going to be all lush green, not really any rock. This is going to be a lot of like this, you know, there's no scenery obviously, but brown base coat as the earth. And then lots of rock, little spots in there. And then we'll do all of this scenery at one time. Like I said, I'm not really touching the peninsula as far as grasses and shrubs and trees and all that. I'm going to get it painted, but I'm not touching anything scenic wise. The cutoff was kind of like right here until I figure out what I'm doing with there. You know, the cutout anomaly section, because I don't want to, you know, have to do it all separately. So, but yeah, you can see train coming through the canyon. So especially once it's all scenic up and there's trees and stuff up there, it's going to have that feeling that it's a lot deeper than it really is. But even still, I really love the look of the train coming through. Not straight, and it winds, and so good stuff there. Definitely very happy with it. I like the idea of it a lot. Like I said, it was pulling teeth to decide, okay, so I have the yard there. I want my engine facility over there. I have an engine facility here that's like almost done, and ripping all that up after all those hours I put into it was definitely a little painstaking. Got that all worked in. And then I'm like, what do I want to do here? And I think it's the best of all worlds. Keep this as the rural scene that it was intended to be before I built the original shop. And then intended as the yard with all the operations, base, all that. It's all right there. Everything's good to go. So it just makes the most sense functionally in real life. Added some more trees up in here. I'm going to need hundreds of thousands of millions of trees to fill all this out. I pulled up all the trees that were over here. I'm just going to leave this bare for now, so I'm going to start fitting those in on this side as well and try to fill it out. Even with the 30 or so trees that are in there, it still is kind of sparse, and I want it to be lush. So working on that slowly but surely. I feel like in every video I've ever filmed, the mine has had no progress, and that is absolutely correct, but it is what it is. I'll get to that eventually. Added some more trees and really started to scenic up this little area. There's not much to it, but it kind of flows from the foresty, mine, wood section, you know, into the industrial park. Had a little op session last night. Dropped off some cars at various industries. Just making sure everything was still powered properly. And I haven't really ran trains over here in a few weeks because I've been so focused on the main yard. But having the main yard to build trains and dispatch trains, and like I said, just as kind of like the focal point of where everything's coming and going, really makes this even more invaluable, because now when I come over here, I can bring in loads or empties, switch stuff out, switch out the loads or empties again, depending on inbound or outbound, all that nonsense, and then rebuild my train and then head back, you know. So coming westbound, do my work, blah, blah, blah. The jobs are all done. You know, there's 3 industries here. And then head back eastbound. The coal mine and the lumber mill will have their own separate trains, but the industry train, or the local, we'll call it, definitely now is even more, it's definitely served even more properly now. So imagine, yeah, this was my little, when I built the expansion, I wanted some industries and just a little yard, and I was perfectly fine with the operational aspect, but as my aspirations grew, I needed more storage, needed more operational space, and we kind of got there. So again, big changes. I've said it before, I was not going to expand, and then I've expanded, well, 1, 2, and then a third time. I don't think I'm going to be expanding again, but you never know. I do have rough sketches and ideas in my head about a lift out and then coming down here and adding another loop. You know, you never know. So that's kind of it for now. But yeah, again, just a recap. So the yard and new engine facility, and I just love the look of it. I love the use of the space. You know, like I said, I might add one more interchange track here with this one and make that a runaround too. I'm not really sure. I kind of have this plot of land down here I'm not sure what to do with. This is all going to be big forested and whatnot and just lush. So then we got our farm scene being worked on. We got our new, I don't know, I need to come up with a name for the valley, like Albert's Valley or something. Shout out to Albert. If you know, you know. So yeah, things have come quite along. Big changes, but that's the way I do things. So tips or tricks, Tony Hawk style. Let me know what you like, don't like, comment, criticize, critique. Tell me if you love my layout, if you hate my layout, if you want to know how I do something. If you want me to make a video of how I do things, let me know. I don't really know what else to say. But yeah, so things are looking good. A lot of progress. I can tell you, honestly, things are starting to slow down for me in the basement because fishing season is here, and if not even more so, right around the corner with the better weather coming. It's the tail end of March. So updates are never frequent or planned, but they might be less frequent than they have been frequently, if that makes sense. I don't know. But keep your eyes out. I will work on it when I can and share my progress as I feel fit. And hope to see you all soon. So let me know again. Like, comment, subscribe. Love you all. Train made out.